Recently, many people received some much needed help as it relates to paying their student loans. While the debate over the federal government's action is heated and wide ranging, I'm happy for those who qualify for this relief. Now, some say it's not enough and that the federal government could have and should have done more. Others say the federal government's actions are an overreach of authority and that it's not the taxpayer's responsibility to provide relief. Now, whichever end of the spectrum you're on, that's your business. I'm not here to debate that because I believe there's a greater issue at hand. And the greater issue, as I see it, is this. Is attending college worth it? This is the essential topic of discourse. We'll survey this question and the outline factors associated with it. And we'll offer some practical counsel to help you arrive at an informed conclusion. Hello, everyone. I'm Bruce Smith, and you're listening to the Essential Discourse Podcast. Our show is a critical examination of Black culture, specifically taboo topics that are embedded in our culture, which directly or indirectly affects our points of view, behaviors, and relationships. Not only do we identify problems, but we also put forward relevant, restorative, reasonable, and responsible solutions to remedy the identified problems. Thanks for joining us. Let's return to the show. It seems that many employers are in cahoots with the institutions of higher learning. This is according to various articles and blogs I read researching this subject. A master's degree is now the entry-level requirement for many jobs within the humanities field, a field that is understaffed, underpaid, undervalued, and overworked. Now, if you, I, and they know and understand this, why then would employers require potential employees who have a passion to serve others to take out additional debt to the sum of $19,000 in some cases, on top of whatever undergraduate debt they've already acquired? All of this for entrance into a depleted field. The obvious elephant in the room, not only in the aforementioned field, but also in all advanced learning fields, is how do these requirements, which force most students to take on tremendous amounts of debt for entry-level, low-paying positions, equate to a strong economy? It doesn't. Especially for the students entering the workforce. All this does is fast-track employees towards the working poor status. Understanding this, one should honestly assess and evaluate the essential topic of discourse. Is college worth it? The first exercise any potential college attendee should complete is to list the pros and the cons of attending college. Now, I reached out to social media and you guys were phenomenal in your response. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for providing some excellent feedback. So let's take a look at some of the mentioned pros. Number one, personal growth. Attending college makes you more responsible. It helps you to better manage your time, and etc., etc. Number 2, experiential knowledge you can only gain while at college. Number 3, it expands your knowledge and appreciation for and of diversity. Number 4, it improves your social skills and your social bonds, i.e. networking, social networking, professional networking. Number 5, it expands one's overall knowledge. Number 6, it produces more employment opportunities, more employment options. Number 7, it makes one a better rounded person. And number 8, it develops a sense of pride and accomplishment when you're able to complete your course. Now let's look at some of the mentioned cons. And I think every person who responded to that social media post listed this one as number 1. The cost is too expensive. The return does not equal nor surpass the investment. Number 2, most who graduate are not employed in the field that they studied. Number 3, college creates workers, not creators, not owners. Number 4, colleges fail to pour into their graduates. These graduates have absolutely no direction. They leave graduation without having one employment offer. And these students are unable to pass certification exams. These certification exams are at an additional cost to the students. Number 5, a degree guarantees nothing. Number 6, the first 2 years are a complete waste of time as you're forced to study core classes that are built into your major, which you've already had in high school. And number 7, there's an extreme amount of pressure placed on college attendees. The type of pressure that could lead to depression and other mental health issues. Based on the pros and cons listed, would you, as a new, as a returning, or as a continuing education student, believe that college is worth it? The first con, the very first one listed, is the most significant of them all. The investment versus the return. It just doesn't balance out. And there's no indication that any institution, whether that be a 2 or 4 year, a community, public, or private sector school, are doing anything to curb this trend. The National Center for Education Statistics reported just in July of 2022 that the average tuition and fees were significantly higher in the academic school year of 2020 through 2021 versus 2010 and 2011. And they were higher by as much as 19%. That's just 10 years, gang. A public school in 2010, 2011, the cost associated with attending that school was $8,500. Fast forward 10 years to 2020, 2021, $9,400. A private, non-profit school, the fees were $31,700. 10 years later, $37,600. And the private for-profit schools in 2010, 2011, the fees associated with attending those schools were $18,100. Interestingly enough, 10 years later is only $100 more at $18,200. This is only within the last 10 years, as I've stated. And it's not like these institutions are poor. It's not like these institutions don't have finances. Alumni contribute billions of dollars to their particular institutions. This is according to U.S. News, an article that was published in December 2020 entitled 10 Colleges Where the Most Alumni Donate. It states that alumni given at U.S. colleges total more than $11 billion. That's billion. $11 billion in 2019. And then you have to consider the universities and colleges that have D1 programs. You know, they're getting network money to allow these networks to broadcast their sporting events, particularly football and basketball. These same colleges and universities, they hire coaches, pay them millions of dollars. They're unhappy with their performance. They fire these coaches. These coaches get a buyout of millions of dollars. And then they hire a new guy and pay him or her millions of dollars. And here's another factor to shore up the point that I'm making, that universities have the funding to drive the cost down. Major corporations such as Apple, Microsoft, Google, and others have and or now awarding tens of millions to various colleges and universities in the forms of grants. So why are the costs steadily increasing? Well, public funding, your and my tax dollars, in terms of total state appropriations per student, were diverted from public education by the politicians our parents elected. This is a direct quote from a New York Times article titled "The Real Reason College Tuition Costs So Much." It was published April 4th, 2005. This same article states, boomers could pay for a full year of college from their summer job earnings. Fast forward to today, millennials would have issues trying to pay for one college class with the money that they earn from their summer jobs. And so, the central question remains, is attending college worth it? Well, if you ask a boomer, someone born between 1946 and 1964, they'd probably say yes. You ask Gen Xers, those born between 1965 and 1976, you'll probably get various responses. And if you ask that same question to millennials, those born between 1977 and 1997, you're more likely going to get no as a response. Why is this? Why are these three different categories of people responding in three different ways? Well, you have to look at it in terms of the cost of the investment versus the return that they receive. The answer, in my opinion, now this is just my opinion, the answer to the question, Is attending college worth it? My answer is yes and no. Let me explain my answer in 4 sectors. Sector number 1. Now, earlier I told you that I reached out to social media and people were just phenomenal with their responses. But there's one response that I think is advantageous for me to read on this episode, as it speaks directly to adults advocating for prospective students. Here's what the author wrote. First, we need to start planning and preparing our children for professional careers in middle school. This needs to be around the 6th grade, if not early. We need to start paying for quality tutoring and summer programs, because this costs much less than paying for college. He says he does not believe that secondary schools and primary schools always do a good job at this, which is why we as parents have to be proactive by seeking and providing early guidance and community resources. He states we need to sit with our children and map out at least 3 paths to a career or a profession. And we need to start aligning them with opportunities and learning experiences that will help them choose one of the paths your child helped plan. He states that this is important because it speaks to their commitment as they planned or helped plan the path. He encourages parents to encourage their children to test early and often, because the high scores get you the free money for college. That's just the way it is. And then in his last couple of sentences, he says, if you're after free money, parents have to commit themselves to the application process and tracking the responses for the offers. He says that this is a part-time job. Again, I want to thank my social media contacts for providing the feedback that they did. And this statement that I just read speaks directly to the investment of time, observation, exposure, and exploration. Now, he said something that was incredibly true towards the end of his statement. He said, doing all of this is a part-time job. And that it is. My daughter just graduated high school. She was in a fast-track course for which she was earning her associate's degree as well as her high school diploma. And she left a whole lot of money on the table because she felt that she had time to apply for these scholarships and these grants. And I attempted to explain to her that the early bird oftentimes gets the worm. And that was a hard lesson that she had to learn. And so now she's in college and she is being proactive in trying to get the scholarships and the allotments or the endowments that the school has to offer to offset the cost of her semester tuition and fees. Understand, my daughter is not at a major university or a private school. She's at a publicly funded institution of learning. And when I tell you it cost me nearly $5,000 for her to attend this semester at school, believe that be true. And that's with some scholarships. And that's with fairly good grades. $5,000 per semester is what we're looking at right now, because she wasn't fully committed to the process of making sure that she had done everything that she could possibly do to offset the cost of going to school. And as a parent, there's a fine line between nagging and pushing your child to be responsible for what it is that they say they want to do. There's a fine line between that. And some lessons they're going to have to learn on their own. And as parents, he said that this is a part-time job. And that's on top of every other responsibility that you have. So you cannot take the full responsibility of mapping out your child's plan for future success. They have to have some ownership in that thing. And the more ownership they have, the less you'll have to do in regards to ensuring that they're on top of things. I guess the best way that can be summarized is that you have to partner with your child, and your child has to partner with you in mapping out their career path. It's not enough. It's not enough to just tell a kid, graduate high school, go to college, graduate college, so that you can get a good job and get paid good money so that you can have a good life. There's some preparation that has to take place prior to any of that ever coming to fruition. The second sector that I want to talk about is the prospective student. As well as, helping your child map out a future, we also need to help our child realize what their passions are. I think that your career path should be in alignment with what you're passionate about. Why? That which I'm passionate about, I would do it regardless to if I was getting paid for it or not. I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities because of my love for doing it. So if you have a job that is in alignment with your passion, you'll never work a day in your life. You won't have a problem about, I hate my job. Oh, it's Monday. I don't want to go in. Because you were going to do that regardless to whether you had to go into the office or if it was your off day. And when we realize what these passions are, we have to start looking to see if those passions can be turned into careers by other means other than going to college. Now, if I'm good with my hands, if I like to build things, if I like to put stuff together, I don't necessarily need to go to college to foster that passion into a career. There are things such as technical schools. There are things such as internships. There are things such as apprenticeships that can help you foster that passion and turn it into a career. Obviously, if you plan on practicing law, if you plan on practicing medicine, if you plan on doing things that involve a sophisticated, high-functioning level of math and science, yeah, you're going to have to go to college. If that's your passion, you're going to have to go to college. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to take you more than 4 years to get to the level that you need to be at to be certified and to be validated as a subject matter expert. But it doesn't take all that to be an electrician. It doesn't take all that to be a plumber or HVAC mechanic or a truck driver. And these are trades. These are skills that are required. They're required so much that many of these industries that I just named, they're making 6 figures a year. We just came out of a pandemic. Well, we're still in a pandemic, but we're on our way out of it. By the grace of God, we're on our way out of this pandemic. And one of the end effects of this pandemic was that goods and services were trapped at the ports. Now that these goods and services are hitting the ports, well, they got to get from the ports to small town USA, right? And how are they getting there? Truck drivers. Truck drivers right now can pretty much, say what they're going to do the job for, and they're going to get paid for it. No, there are high school girls right now who can do wonders with a fingernail file and a fingernail paintbrush, or do masterful things with hair and makeup. And if that's your passion, there's no reason for you to go to school to get a liberal arts degree when you can go to a cosmetology school or a technical college and get certified, start your own business, make your own hours, and get paid well because you are among the best at what you do, because what you do is out of your passion. Does that make sense? The third sector, preparation. Preparation. Once you identify the path and once you identify your passion, now you got to start preparing yourself. And you can't wait until your senior year to start preparing yourself. You need to start preparing yourself as soon as you know what that path and what that passion is. And how do you prepare yourself? Well, you're intentional with everything you do. You start early. You resolve to do your best. You resolve to do your best in regards to studying, in regards to getting good grades, in regards to your communication and personal skills, managing your time, managing your resources. No, these are all things that are incumbent upon us or prospective students in regards to the preparation phase. You have to resolve not only to be intentional, not only to start early, but to be resolved to be the best that you can be. And after that, you need to be persistent. You know, these guys have free money out here, and they're not just riding around in cars and throwing it out the window. You got to be persistent. I don't care if it's the school counselor and she don't have an answer today or he doesn't have an answer today. Well, guess what? You need to be back tomorrow and the next day until you get the answer that you're looking for. Organizations such as fraternities, sororities, they offer free money for school. Corporations offer free money for school. Once you make that initial contact, you need to be persistent. Hey, did you get this? Did you get that? Okay, what next do I need to do? You need to be persistent so that you can get what they have that will help you in the future. It's not enough to say, okay, I submitted it. If they select me, they select me. If they don't, they don't. It is what it is. It is what it is not the attitude that you can afford to have when you're preparing yourself for success. And you got to follow your plan. You got to follow the plan that you and your parent mapped out. You got to follow that plan to a T. You only deviate from that plan as you need to ensure that you are getting the max return on your investment. That is the only time you deviate from that plan. You deviate from the plan to make the plan fit to get the max return from your investment. And here's the final sector, the final parental sector. You know, our kids are gonna stumble. And when they stumble, they don't need to be beat down. I told you so. Oh, you messing it up. When they stumble, become a leaning post for them. Right? Should they happen to fall, be there. Be there with an extended hand to help them get back up on their feet. Because stumbling and falling is part of the process for them to reach their success level. And above all else, we have to be their most strongest, their most fierce, their most consistent promoters and supporters. And I think that if we do these things, college would be worth it for those who have determined that their passion is aligned with going to college so that they can practice in the field that aligns with their passion. And if college isn't the way that they need to go, it's still, ladies and gentlemen, it still plays a very important role in the success of these children who enter into the trades field. And this will even help us, those of us who are working jobs right now. You know, it's never too late to reset. It's never too late to restart. It's never too late to better ourselves so that we can have better. We can start that business that we've been talking about for the last 10 years. It's never too late. As long as you have breath in your body, you can reach a new level of success. But you got to have a plan. And you got to have a plan that you're willing to stick to, that you're willing to be consistent about, that you're willing to be persistent about. And the last thing I need to say, the last thing I need to tell you is, regardless to whatever obstacles, regardless to whatever setbacks you have, you are victorious. You are more than a conqueror. You are a winner. Delay is not denial. So if you choose the path to go to college, you've already won. If you do these things that we laid out. If you don't go to college and you become a tradesperson, you're already a winner. If you do these things that we've laid out. If you already have a job, parents, guardians, and you want to do something else, you're already a winner. If you would commit to doing these things. So, is college worth it? Well, that depends on your passion. Does your passion lead you to returning to college, going to college? If it does, college is worth it. If it does not, it's not worth it. Only you have the ability to determine what your passion is. And only you have the ability to determine whether college is worth it or not. This concludes this episode of Essential Discourse with Bruce Smith. I hope that your perspective has been elevated and that you have been edified, equipped, and encouraged as a result of listening today. Thank you for your investment of time. If you found value in this episode, please recommend and share it. Your feedback, comments, and questions are welcome. Please utilize the comment section on our social media feeds, the review sections on your audio streaming service, or in the comment sections on our website to communicate with us. And finally, please consider joining our community. By joining, you'll be notified of new episodes, featured guests, and my guest appearances on other podcasts and or videocasts. You'll also become instantly eligible to receive our free newsletter, thank you prizes, and so much more. All you need to do is subscribe at www.edpshow.com and ensure that our communications that are directed to you reach your email inbox. Until the next time, be kind to yourself and kinder to others. We wish you peace and blessings. You've been listening to The Essential Discourse with Bruce Smith.